Test, test, test. 1, 2, test, test, test.
Hey, Sarah Julie, how are you? Hey, good. Can you put DC Grid 1 on a frame sync for me? It's the FEMA presser. 25, okay. No, that's fine. Thanks. Bye.
understanding that he needs to be right, like,
Yeah.
right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so he just shouldn't
So
stand
you,
too
so they
far.
can see him?
But so it's not the
Yeah. So
Okay.
he's protesting.
All right.
Yeah, do you know when you'll know if it's like near the edge of like your picture?
I'm assuming when it's
When it's
7:28.
Got it.
Yeah.
So do you think 15 minutes? Do you think it'll be like 7:45-ish?
basically they want you. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, the same frame. So like as long as your body, that works better. Oh, he's not here right now. But yeah, they just want you the same plane. What is that? Dress right, dress, Ray? Dress right, dress.
Yes, got it. Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
And so he will walk in. He'll wait for a second, a beat, and then he'll walk in. He just needs to be there when he's talking,
Of
obviously.
course, of course.
I don't know why I keep doing sign language, but
You're gonna get in the habit of that.
yeah.
One side.
Hopefully, I'm not saying the wrong thing.
People do that all the time. People talk with their hands all the time, so it's like, so some deaf actually sign. Or some people sign and they don't realize it.
Oh, jeez.
So anyway, you'll remind them to make sure include the screen, is that correct?
Oh yeah, we've already talked about it.
Perfect, thank you.
Oh, thank you, sir.
I don't know if the mult's still on or not. Do you hear it? Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3.
Yes, sir. Works. Awesome. Thank you. Beautiful. No idea how much those things cost. Most of them, we can't
morning, everyone. One slight change to our program this morning. Acting Secretary Duke had to leave early for the Vice President's trip to Texas. So she and several cabinet officials will be traveling down to Texas this morning. So Administrator Long and a few of his subject matter experts will provide an operational update on FEMA's support to the state of Texas and Louisiana. And with that, Administrator Long.
Hey, good morning, folks. All right, we got everybody. All right, so the mission obviously is still taking care of people. It's a dynamic situation. We continue to track everything that's going on, and not only in Beaumont, where we have some serious operations taking place for search and rescue and life sustainment. We've had a number of evacuations around the Arkema chemical plant. Last night we proactively were able to evacuate about a 1.5 mile radius around the Arkema chemical plant, for example, to make sure people were safe in anticipation of any problems. We continue to push the life-saving operations. We're continuing to evacuate people out of areas where the rivers have not receded yet, and in some cases today and tomorrow they may be cresting. The shelter mission is the biggest battle that we have right now as well. Obviously, we've rolled a tremendous number of assets to support the life-sustaining mission in shelters. Shelters are never an ideal situation. We understand that. We're throwing everything we can at them, not just from the federal government standpoint, but here again, it's neighbor helping neighbor. We had a tremendous amount of people stepping up and volunteering with our partners at the Red Cross and the Salvation Army. We've had generous offers of people coming in, like the Southern Baptist, other religious groups coming in and providing feeding kitchens and meals. But let me be clear, this mission is going to continue for multiple weeks. Understanding that it takes time to mobilize people to the Transitional Shelter Assistance Program, to hotels. We're going to be asking for volunteers to specifically look at the shelter mission, particularly if you've particularly volunteers that have shelter management experience. We would ask you to concentrate there. We're also pushing forward commodity distribution. We're looking to burn over 3 million meals a day, over 2 million bottles of water per day, and that's only going to grow in some cases. Particularly in Beaumont, we are very clear that the water system is down in Beaumont, so we are tracking that. We're working with our partners in DOD as well as the state to looking to open and opening points of distribution to be able to service the citizens there in that dire situation. Power restoration, right now it's under 300,000. In some cases, you may lose power as private power companies are working to take grids down to fix lines, and it could be intermittent in the areas where the water is receding and the sun is out. So we need to set your expectations. Power could be out for multiple days in some of these areas due to the damage. Security does not seem to be an issue right now. We have overwhelming presence, not only from the federal government, but the first responders down on the ground, and the state of Texas are doing a phenomenal job of making sure that the area is safe and secure. But we're continuing to track any security issues that we have. Medical support is huge right now. Obviously, American public's seeing a lot of nursing homes and hospitals being evacuated. But rest assured that Secretary Price is working with his counterparts in the state of Texas, along with FEMA. We've sent large-scale amounts of disaster medical teams into Texas to make sure we understand the situation, handle the situation, and then manage the expectations going forward on how we need to bring these systems back up and online. Survivor registrations and recovery, I'm going to go over to Alex Amparo here shortly. But in regards to the shelters, I don't have accurate numbers right now. That number is going to grow from what it was yesterday. We'll have more accurate information a little bit later. 4 mega shelters are operating, 3 in Houston, 1 in Dallas. Those are the shelters with the most capability that we're pushing. Search and rescue, well over 10,000 people just by federal forces alone have been rescued, and that number is going to climb with Beaumont. But what's most impressive are the neighbors helping neighbor numbers that are out there. Countless number of rescues that are taking place as the whole community is responding and descending upon Texas. Regarding the National Flood Insurance Program. Unfortunately, there are rumors out there that we are trying to control, so I'm going to flip it over to our Flood Insurance Program Director, Roy Wright, to deconflict any rumors out there and to set a clear expectation for NFIP policyholders. Roy?
Good morning. Roy Wright, the Director of the National Flood Insurance Program here at FEMA. So if you have a flood insurance policy, here are the steps you take. When it is safe to return back to your home, you need to file a claim either with your agent or with your company. And you need to begin taking photos of everything in that area as you begin to clean out. If at any time you are frustrated or confused through that process, you call and reach out to FEMA and we will intervene. We are already beginning to release the advance payments. If you have a flood insurance policy, we can begin to release up to $10,000 immediately. But there are 3 specific things that played out in the last 24 hours that we need to make sure the public understands and get the correct information out. First of all, there were a series of robocalls going out that were trying to extort people, saying if you did not make an additional payment, your policy would be canceled. We worked with the state of Texas, the Federal Trade Commission, and others to get out the message. That is pure fraud. You should only be taking information from trusted sources. Those trusted sources are your agent or company, local officials, the adjuster they assign, or a FEMA official. If they are not a trusted resource, do not rely on their information. Secondly, there is a law in Texas that is going into effect today that deals with insurance questions. Some people have misconstrued this in terms of its application to the National Flood Insurance Program. First of all, it is a state law and has no impact on the National Flood Insurance Program. If you're able to file your claim, do so now. If it is not yet safe for you to return to your home, have no concern. We will wait for you. Finally, there's been a message that has been going out that says if you file the claim as a result of the floods last year, you're ineligible to file again this year. Also, absolutely incorrect information. If you have a current valid policy, you are covered. Go through the process, file your claim, take the photos, only take information from trusted sources. If you get frustrated or confused along the way, call FEMA. Thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, Roy. Please stay with us because I want to give very important information when it comes to the recovery effort. So, obviously, the mission on the road to recovery, we have to start figuring out a way to restore hope, for those that have been impacted in Texas, and we're actively planning this out, working. I was in conversations with the mayor last night. We're discussing things not only about restoring basic routines such as power and how we bring schools back up online, but we're also talking about how to deal with massive amounts of debris, as well as the most important thing, the mission of saving houses. So I want to turn it back over to Alex Amparo with recovery.
Thank you, Administrator. First, as Administrator said, this is an unprecedented event. Yesterday we had our largest single-day total of registrations. To date, we have over 325,000 registrations for assistance from FEMA, and we've provided already $57 million through electronic transfers to disaster survivors. The outpouring of support, as the Administrator have said, that we've seen from the neighbor helping neighbor, from the stranger helping stranger, is also unprecedented and really showing the world what's best about America. So for disaster survivors that find themselves in shelters or find themselves displaced, we say, first, contact your insurance company, begin to file your claim. Second, go to disasterassistance.gov, where you can register for assistance from FEMA. We ask that you have, at the time of registration, and provide us information about where you're at, the damage of your address, and we'll validate that information, and in some cases we can provide immediate assistance to you. Last night we also had over 8,000 families that were staying in hotels as part of the Transitional Shelter Assistance Program. That program continues in over 9,000 rooms, 8,000 families, 9,000 rooms, and we want to continue to move folks from shelters into hotels if they're not able to get back into their home. So again, go to disasterassistance.gov. Let's begin this process. You'll be assigned an inspector. The inspector will contact you and make arrangements to be able to meet with you at your damaged dwelling or at a different location and begin that process as we get some emergency assistance to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, here again, the two areas for volunteering and getting the whole community involved. We need your support at mass care shelters, but we need to do this in an organized fashion. Reach out to the Red Cross or invoad.org as well to get involved within the shelter mission. And then eventually one of the largest missions that's going to take place is mucking out houses and helping people try to save their homes. That's going to be one of the biggest missions that's there. Not only there's going to be a lot of debris to be pulled out of those homes, and people are going to need a lot of help. Missions as well. So with that, we'll open it up for any questions. Joel?
What's the latest news on the chemical plant explosions that were reported this morning, and how is FEMA handling that and other agencies handling that? And what other kinds of jackpot situations might be going on out there right now?
Yeah. So the local government, the impact of where the chemical plant is, was incredibly proactive in issuing the evacuation warning order. We feel pretty certain that we got over a 1.5 mile radius evacuated out of that area in anticipation. Right now, the question is whether or not we can actually get in and assess the full scale of the impacts from an environmental standpoint to infrastructure standpoint. So those are ongoing.
And the fumes, how dangerous are those?
Yeah. So the bottom line is that we do what's called plume modeling. And that's what we base a lot of the evacuations on. And so, by all means, yes, the plume is incredibly dangerous. Questions?
So, as the storm moves, Greg Wallace from CNN, as the storm moves eastward, what should we be expecting over the next couple days as far as impact?
For Harvey to exit the nation. Hopefully, it's picking up speed. But unfortunately, as the rainfall stops and the sun comes out in Texas, Louisiana is still being impacted. Southwest Louisiana, central Louisiana, and northern Louisiana are all going to be impacted by rain bands as it exits out. This may not be inaccurate. Please check the National Weather Service, but I believe another 4 to 8 inches could be possible in the state of Louisiana today. And I'm in constant contact with the state, whether it's Governor John Bell Edwards or his Chief of Staff, Mark Cooper.
Preparations in Louisiana?
Yeah, so we have incident management teams that have been in place for well over a week at this point in support and expecting any any mission assignments that they need to fulfill any gaps. We're not having too many requests come in. There are search and rescue efforts underway. We're anticipating, we've already turned on the President's emergency disaster declaration to the governor as well. But we're standing by letting the elements clear out, and then we'll have a clearer picture on how best to support the state. But one thing that's really impressive is Governor John Bell Edwards, not only is his state being impacted, but he proactively overnight sent search and rescue teams over to the Port Arthur, Beaumont area, and they saved over 200 people. It's a testament to not only the governor, but the director, Jim Wascom, and Mark Cooper.
I know it's still early in the process, but have you started to look at numbers, how much we think this will cost?
No, it's going to be those numbers are going to be generated over over many years now, and it's not only it's the federal cost, it's the state cost to respond, it's the local cost, it's the cost of supporting the citizens and trying to provide them a bridge to recovery, that's there. It's the massive amounts of infrastructure that have to be fixed. Through mitigation, a lot of people don't realize this, but FEMA does a lot of disaster mitigation after the fact. So both states will come into a tremendous amount of post-disaster mitigation funding to make sure that we try to mitigate this event from ever occurring again. And so it's going to take years to put a lot of this money in place and rebuild the infrastructure. So it's incredibly hard to anticipate what those costs are.
We've heard it said that only about 16% of the people there have the national flood insurance policies. So what's going to happen to everyone else? And does it make any sense for this to happen over and over again where you have these communities that have massive flooding and most people don't have insurance?
Right, so the numbers you reference, I think, go Harris County wide. I think we should look across the whole affected area in that area, across the Texas coast. For those who have the insurance, we're going to have the ability to follow back through for them. But clearly, there's an open question about what does it mean to build higher and stronger as it goes forward. Harris County already has in place a zoning code that says in the highest hazard area, they're going to have to rebuild at least 1 foot higher. I would imagine those conversations will be picked up and furthered working with the mayor, working with the folks there in the county and that whole affected area.
Yeah. All right, folks, one more question.
Do you have the updated number of flood insurance claims as of this morning?
What is it? 37,000 as of noon yesterday. I'll have an update. That number will go up significantly today.
Yeah.
How many people are missing?
I don't know. Hang on, I'll come back to that.
Just one more question. In terms of the incident of the plant, do you know how many explosions there were, or did you have any clarity?
It was my understanding there were 2 explosions, but I don't have clarity on that situation. It would probably be best to reach out to the local responders for the most detailed information. They're on the ground. I'm in D.C., but I am anxious. I will be down with the mayor of Houston tomorrow. Yeah.
And the number of people missing, do you have any numbers on that?
At this time, we don't know. We don't know. All right, folks, thank you so much. We depend on the media to put out the protective action message and the message of what's next. So we appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, guys.